What do you do with all those automatic negative thoughts and ruminations? Like, how do you stop them? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Because I know I have, and I want to share the answer with you. So let's go. Okay, let's talk about these automatic negative thoughts. By the way, if you do not know your automatic negative thoughts, thinking traps, cognitive distortions, I'm going to encourage you to stop right now and go take the free quiz, What Thinking Trap is Limiting My Performance? The link is in the bio right now. It's going to score you on 17 of the most common thinking traps. So you'll start to see the ones you most habitually think in, and the ones that are closer to 10 are the ones that you struggle the most with. The ones closer to 0 are the ones you don't struggle with, which is pretty cool. So go take that assessment right now. Now, if you're struggling with like worry, rumination, obsessive thinking, constant self-criticism, constant self-rejection or self-hatred, then listen up because this video really is for you. The first thing you need to do is accept yourself. Easier said than done. So when we're talking about radical acceptance, we're really letting ourselves just be open and letting things come and go and really acknowledging the fact that you want to take control, but you're going to intentionally just let things go and be as they are. So you're intentionally forfeiting control there. And so what you want to then start to do mentally is you want to start to observe yourself and let go. Easier said than done, I know. But you have to non-judgmentally or mindfully allow these weird thoughts to come and go. So we're going to shift from being critical and being like, no, you can't come into me, to just being open and allowing these thoughts to come just as if it was like a gray cloud passing by. You know, gray clouds happen, rainstorms happen. Sometimes it's going to happen in our mentality, but sometimes when we fight it, it actually gets worse versus if we just let it come open. And I'm going to share 3 tips that you can do to kind of make the gray cloud kind of go by a little bit faster, you could say. So make sure you watch to the end for those 3 tips. All right, the first thing we're going to do is accept them. And again, acceptance is just letting go of control and how you wish it was to seeing it how it is in a more neutral mindset. And that's going to require mindful thinking or being non-judgmental towards yourself and really leveraging curiosity and just kind of imagining yourself just observing gray clouds. That's all we're going to do right there for that first step. Next, you want to reconstruct the thought. And one of the best ways you can do this is challenging the thought. By the way, if you are not sure on what way to challenge a thought, I'm going to encourage you to watch this video right here, which is the #1 question you need to be asking yourself to help you challenge those thinking traps or unhelpful thoughts. So make sure you go watch it right now. So you want to ask yourself, like, how true is this? And you got to be objective. For example, I have an automatic way of thinking that goes, I can't, or I'm not good enough. Ultimately, it boils down to I'm incompetent and I could never do that, right? And I get ahead of this because I know I'm going to think this way because I know myself really well. I mean, when you do what I do, you got to be super self-aware, right? Or you're not going to be able to help your clients as effectively and efficiently as they're going to need it, right? You can only take someone as far as you've taken yourself is kind of a theory in therapy and the coaching consulting world. Now, since I know I struggle with the thought I'm incompetent, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I always get ahead of it by challenging that thought, by listing out the objective evidence I have in my past and in my toolkit to kind of combat the intensity of that emotion. Now, it's also important to know there's such thing as a limbic loop, and your limbic system is the part of the brain that's responsible for interpreting, categorizing, and sorting sensory input. So ultimately, what your limbic system does is it filters out the billions of information that we experience at any given moment, right? We're just constantly overloaded with stimuli. And so your limbic system determines how we code things. It also determines how we remember things and how we respond to things. It stores memories, it regulates hormones, it's involved in motor functioning. You know, it's really the basis of our emotions because the amygdala is partially in there as well. And it's our highly vigilant lookout tower, right? It really wants to keep us safe. So when we're struggling with survival mode, we're really living in our limbic system. We're not in our prefrontal cortex. And you can just get all of these weird sensations from your brain just being miswired in that aspect. It also regulates functions of the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, meaning it regulates things like your pulse and your blood pressure and your breathing and arousal in response to emotional circumstances. Now, the limbic system, you could say, is going to be the first responder in every situation, both perceived and real threats. Now, I say that because when you have that automatic thought, which is attached to that core belief, and for my case, it was, I'm not good enough, I'm not competent, then you all of a sudden start to freak out because you see a threat that you're not good enough, you're going to fail. And if you give real meaning to that belief, to that thought, then it can really make you feel like you're being under attack. So since we know your limbic system can send you false information because it can miscode stimuli, sometimes you've got to get ahead of this too. And what I would do, and I still do this today, but I really did it when I was walking out a lot of my complex post-traumatic stress disorder issues from having a really weird childhood filled with abuse and loss, is I would say, hey brain, you're sending me false information. It sounds really silly to do that, but we need to find triggers so that we can rewire our brain. And we know that thinking changes our neurology. So sometimes we need to keep thinking the same thing over and over and over again to change our neurology. But it's the compound effect. It's going to have to be through repetition, 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 repetition. And so what I would do is I would be triggered typically by a new opportunity that was out of my comfort zone. And I'd go, oh, I can't do that. That was always the first thought. But that I can't do it was really stemming from the core belief of, I'm incompetent. I'm not good enough. I could never do this. I'm not smart enough. I was told I was fat, stupid, and ugly every single day of my life until I was dying from an eating disorder at 16 years old. So for me, I want to be good enough. Lots of people want to be good enough, but I know because of my past, that's where that thought stems from. And I've dealt with it. I've dealt with the trauma. I've dealt with it all and I've put it behind me. But nonetheless, these automatic ways of thinking, they still pop up even for me. And I do this for a living, right? So I'm constantly learning and growing and trying to improve my self-awareness to be the best that I can be. And so when I would catch that thought of, oh, I can't, I'm not good enough, which by the way, I've lost a handful of job opportunities because I bought into that thought. So don't kick yourself, learn from it. This is growth. Leverage hindsight, reflect back, because you start to learn your tendencies, especially seeing as 95% of our thoughts are the same every single day. So you have plenty of opportunity to start to learn yourself, see how you think, see the triggers you have to certain situations, and to be mindful of that so you can shift your thinking intentionally and consciously versus going on that automatic way of being where you're just kind of reacting versus responding with intentionality and care. So when I would have this thought of, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I would know where it was stemming from. And then I would say, hey, brain, you're sending me false information. I can do this. And here are all the reasons why I can do this. And then I would go from there. I would also find all the reasons of why I could do it. And I would quickly do this in my head. And sometimes I will step out and I will actually write on a piece of paper all the reasons why I can do this. But over the years of doing tools and techniques like this, the one thing that all of this has taught me is I really trust myself. It's taken me time. Trust me, it has taken me time. But I really trust myself and I really trust my effort. You see, I love what I do. I love learning about the brain, about psychology, about human performance and optimization. I love learning that, and I love being my guinea pig first for this stuff. And so because I've learned that I love to learn about this stuff so much, I trust my effort. Because the other thing that I've learned about myself, and it's required me to really sit down and have objective thinking, is I'm going to do what it's going to take to get my client to their goals. I have a 98% success rate with getting my clients to their goals. The 2% is because, quite frankly, they did not trust me, and their pessimism and distrust toward me caused them to be a little uncoachable, which is something I now screen for. So again, I learned. That's growth. Learning is growth. It's not failing. And so because over the years, I've learned my skills, I've learned my talents, I've learned my knowledge, but most importantly, I've learned to trust myself, especially my effort. It's taught me that I can't means nothing because you know what? I'm willing to implement my effort and move forward. I hope this has helped you also learn how maybe you could combat some of your automatic thoughts or your ruminations. Now, I said at the very end of this video, I was going to give you 3 tips to kind of get distance from those automatic ways of thinking that might be really causing some strong, intense emotions or those ruminations. So number 1, if you have a rumination, I'm really going to encourage you to start snapping, hugging yourself, holding your heart, maybe swaying, taking steps backwards or taking steps forwards, because we want to get our physiology involved sometimes, because it's actually easier to interrupt patterns when we can bring in our physiology, our psychology, and our emotions. So one thing you could do if you catch yourself ruminating, I used to like ruminate on drives all the time, and I typically would kill off my entire family and imagine how I would survive. I had a lot of death in my childhood, so that's why I kind of go more towards the grim side of life sometimes, which I'm cognizant of. And I would go, whoa, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. And sometimes I would actually snap and I would say, hey, brain, stop thinking that way. And I would intentionally go to a love memory. So there's your first tip. Love memories. Love memories will produce oxytocin in the brain. And we've learned that oxytocin is powerful enough to kind of cancel out some of the cortisol that's helping you stay on that rumination, to stay on that limbic loop, to stay in that cycle. And so get ahead of it. Right now, I want you to write down your favorite love memories and put it on your phone and just put enough detail to trigger that memory. And that's what I would start to do when I would start to imagine killing off my family. Not that I was killing them. I should probably clarify that. Like, they had died, because most of my family died by the time I was 15. I would catch that. I would like freeze frame that moment. I'd take those thoughts captive. I'd go, no, 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 no. I'm not going to think about that. And then I would intentionally think about the day I got my puppy Moo Moo. Moo Moo was a lifesaver for me, especially in my early 20s when I got him. He really taught me love, and I'm so grateful for everything that God has shown me through my pup Moo Moo, because it's really helped me so much in my personal life. So it's a love memory. Maybe the day you had your first kid, or the day you got married, or the day you got into college, are some of your love memories. But write as many love memories as you can down. And really, a love memory is anything that just makes you smile and makes you feel good about yourself. The second thing I would do is I would scream, joy, joy, joy. I have joy. I am joyful. Yes, I am. As loud as I possibly could. I know it sounds insane, but if you scream it loud enough, it'll make you laugh, because you'll feel insane. And that's awesome. It's a great, great way to break patterns and change the verbiage to be ideal for you. It's whatever's best for you. Bring your unique self to the table. The other thing is this: understand that when we have intense emotions or intense moods, that attitude, that mindset is a cluster, if you will, and it's going to last 30 seconds. After the 30th second, so that 31st second, it becomes your choice to continue it. The last thing that I would do is challenge the subjective thoughts, right? Rumination is really about what you hope not to see in the future. So you're really serving fear. Could we go to best case scenario? Because faith and fear are equal in substance, and typically when we're projecting things into the future like this, neither one of them has happened, so they're both likely. But we know self-fulfilling prophecies are real, so take that in for a second, okay? So challenge it. If you're going worst case scenario, it's only fair to go best case scenario. I'm going to also encourage you to have conversations with yourself in the sense of where one of you, like part of you, if you will, is being objective to perhaps the inner child inside of you. You know, if you take a time out and you realize that our emotions have an emotional intelligence of a 2 to 3-year-old, then it's actually easier to kind of see the things that are going on in your mind's eye or in your psychology in a way where you can start to parent and comfort yourself. So if you're freaking out inside about something, see it as the little girl or the little boy inside of you freaking out. And then you be that loving parent and take that inner child and just love and soothe and protect that little child inside of you and talk to it, you know? Sometimes we need to have a plan A and a plan B. Sometimes we just need to externalize our thoughts and we can start to hear how insane we sound or how unrealistic we sound. And so I encourage you to love that inner child, really protect that inner child, have conversations with that inner child, use your values, and really do your best to externalize the thoughts, especially if it's a lot, as best as you can. This is why journaling is great. I personally have been journaling since I was 6 years old. It has definitely helped me with my awareness, so I know it can help you with your awareness. Now, please hit subscribe, like this video, and comment. Tell me your biggest takeaway. I'd love to hear it. Tell me what you're liking. Tell me what you want more of, because I really do care, and it would bless me greatly. Also, if you're ready to master your mindset, then make sure you enroll in Mindset Mastery before the price goes up. It's currently on sale, and it's a self-paced course that teaches you exactly how to master your mindset and build that solid foundation, which is really a framework for you to continue to master and hone in your mindset so you can start to create the life and the person you want to be. It's possible, right? We do have say in a lot of the things that we are frustrated with. Not all of them, but when it comes to you, that's something you can do about it. So make sure you check out Mindset Mastery. The link is in the bio. And I wish you well. Go and create a great day. And I can't wait to see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.